Hey there. So today, as what we were talking about, is these guys. They are the vintage Singer, sometimes originally called a spoon hammerfoot, spoon style hammerfoot, but they are the original hammer feet that came in the puzzle boxes, like mine. You know what? I thought these were going to be the easy ones to figure out how to use. I was wrong. And that's the first thing I think I want to talk about with these. Actually, no, that's the second thing I want to talk about for these. I can tell you what they are first. So this set includes the Hammerfoot, which is number 25533. That I believe is the parts number. This set includes a 3/16, 1/4, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8 hammer, and this one here. This one is a binder foot. So, just so you know, we will eventually get to this one, but it's not going to be in this video. So you can kind of think about this as Hammerfoot's part 1, and that binder foot is going to be part 2. All right, so the first thing I think that we need to talk about with all of these is that I really had a wrong expectation about these. See, I thought that is what you do is, you take your fabric and you just kind of, just stick it in there, like that, and it just eats it up, curls it over, without an issue or whatsoever. And voila, suddenly you have, finished beautiful hem, right? That is not exactly how this works. So normally if you do a hem, you're gonna go and you're gonna take your fabric, right? And you're gonna double fold it, there's a good chance you might even press it, and then you go and you sew as close to this edge as possible, right through here, to get it on that fold and make it all pretty and everything. So just because you're using these hammer feet, it does not mean that you don't have to do that prep work, okay? You still do. So in the end, you kind of wonder, well, then what are these things good for then? I thought the whole point was that they're going to do all that fiddly work for you, right? The difference is that if you're using one of these, you get this really, really nice finished end, right? So I mean, this looks fairly professional. Certainly a whole lot better than what I could have done on my own. Do you see how close that is to that edge? Like, that's fantastic. If I was trying to do that without any sort of tool or guide or anything, I would absolutely be going over that folded edge back and forth, just because I just can't even, I do not have great sewing machine skills, like I will be the first person to admit that. I have a very difficult time just doing a straight line. It's hard for me. I mean, I imagine it's probably hard for a lot of people, but for all the things that I make and stuff, for those who know me, they always seem surprised when I tell them this, but it's true. So understand, you still have to do the prep work that comes with this in order to make these work. So next, let's talk about how to put these on the machine and actually use them. All right, so let's get into it. So this is the actual foot here. So, and it's modular with the other pieces. So this piece, the model number, let me double check that here for us real quick. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so the model number for this piece, according to vintagesewingparts.com, is 25533, and that's just the foot itself, not the additional pieces. On the other hand, looking in my my booklet that came with the machine and the puzzle box and all, it seems to read 25583 as the part number for this foot. Granted, both numbers are very similar. There might be a typo somewhere, and the booklet, as it's listed in the booklet, my printout is a bit grainy and kind of hard to read. So that's where I ended up with trying to find the official part number for y'all. And again, like I said, this is just the foot, not the rest of the attachments. The attachments have their own part numbers. Let's see here. I grabbed my book for y'all. So let's see here. It actually lists them through here. So it'd be 255, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. And then the actual foot down here, that looks like an 83 to me for the foot itself. Oh, and the binder over here is 77. So 255, and then the last two numbers per part. Okay, so those are part numbers for these. And so as I mentioned, this is modular, right? So how this works is you're going to take your actual foot that you want, and you're going to put it in there, and it's going to slot into this little notch right there. See that? So that this bar comes over the plate and then down like that, and your needle goes through that little hole there. So another cool thing I wanted to show you though is, do you see how this foot has, it's a screw, right? So you can adjust how close your stitching is going to be to the fold. So if I rotate it left and this little nub in here, it goes inward, it's going to put your stitch, let's see, I believe it will put your stitch a little bit closer, I think, if my brain is doing the math correctly. But anyway, you can adjust it by rotating that, see, because that makes that little post move, right? So I want it as close to that fold as I can get it. So I'm going to try putting it right about there, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to install my spoon foot or my hammer into the foot itself, and then I'm going to tighten this screw here at the back. And basically that just pushes down onto that knob that I adjusted earlier and keeps it in place. This is gonna move a little bit no matter what you do. It's fine. So, and as you can see, by the way, even though it looks like when you're looking down at your machine from an angle when you're sewing, it almost looks like this is going to get in the way of the needle, but it won't. There's your top view right there, see? Full clear. All right, so next up, you put this foot on your machine pretty much the same way you do any foot. You know, take my little knob there and screw that on in. And there you go. One of the things about this is that you definitely need to mind where the tail ends of your threads go. Also, since this is just a fully enclosed little circle thing, you're going to want to feed your top thread through there. This might have been easier to do when the foot was not on the machine, don't you know? I'll take a little bit of my own advice from when I was using the buttonhole / eyelet foot. Thread it through there before you put it on the machine. Way easier. and then set your foot. Come on, line up, you can do it. Get it so easily that first time, and then it's gonna give me fits. Okay, so this is the one we're gonna use at the moment, and I'm gonna attempt to show this to you in 2 ways. So this one, this fabric, as you can see, I've already pressed, which I personally think is helpful. You might not. Give it a try, see how you feel about it. Because I hope it feels me get that second fold to turn over a little bit easier. I'm going to pin it, and I'm going to just pin just a little bit, like as tiny amount as I can manage. And I'm not gonna push the whole pin through because I need the space, right? So I just want it to hold in place up there. You could even, if you wanted, get out your old needle and thread and do just like a little tacking stitch, or even a couple up there if you wanted, if you prefer to not worry about, having a pin getting in the way of everything you're doing down here. So I'm gonna push my tails over here onto the right, and I'm gonna try my best, they're a little bit long, I'm gonna try my best to keep track of them so that they don't get all wound up underneath my fabric while I'm doing this. So you're going to put it into the hem foot. It's easy to get it over to this part, and then you're gonna try, and by the way, notice that like my pin's all the way up here, I'm working further down just to give myself some room. So after that, you're gonna kind of, holding it from the front and the back helps a bit, get it to pull over. So now I've got my first fold in, and so like now is the difficult part, right? You're gonna kind of work it back and forth a little bit to get it to turn over that second time. This is part of why having that pin in there. You can see my fold starting to squeak through. Yeah. Come on. This is just one of those things where it's fiddly and you just gotta work at it for a little bit. There it goes. See? So now I've still got my tails out, and I'm gonna pull it as close up here as I can, and then I'm gonna drop my foot. I'm going to rotate my hand wheel just a couple times to try and get it started with some very slow stitches. Hopefully that'll do it. Now I'm gonna pull my pin, and we'll see if it's gonna go. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna throw my pin down here, I think. I'm gonna pull this back out before it actually goes through if I can, but just to kind of keep things straight. Okay, so I'm gonna spin the hand wheel and start treadling, and hopefully it will go. See what we got. Well, not the most successful demo in the world, but it started out okay. I mean, that's the first time it's done it to me, but I had, a couple other attempts that went pretty good already. But you can see it also started out really good. You know what I think was probably the issue here, though, is I think I moved it too far. That's not a screwdriver. Okay, let's do this. And we'll, that's the wrong way. There we go. Give it a little bit more room. See, I did have it flush with the side of this. I've now got maybe a thread or two showing. Let's see. I'm gonna put you on hold a second. I'm gonna pause the video for a second so that I can seam rip this, and then we're gonna try it again. All right, I went ahead and seam ripped that so we could try again, and I saved you the time of waiting for me to finagle this back in here. Figured that I did it once. If you need to see it again, you can rewind. It's not a big deal. All right, let's give this another try. And oh, and I did also adjust the screw on the attachment too. So let's see what happens. A couple of stitches, and now treadling. All right. Yeah, there you go. I mean, accepting the fact that it kind of went off the rails just a little bit at the end because I wasn't able to kind of hold it and guide it as it went through. Other than that, that looks pretty gorgeous, right? And there's the back side, in case you're curious. Also pretty good. Yeah. I like it. Like, yeah, I definitely could not possibly get it that close and that nice looking, you know, without a guide like this. So I am very happy with how these work. And it is definitely one of those, you know, you got to kind of work at it and figure it out a little bit. But once you get the hang of it, yeah, totally usable, totally helpful. A couple things. So I do understand that whether some people have opinions about whether it's better to pre-iron or not. I did not have much luck with not pre-ironing. I understand that it's that also. I had one person I read had said that if you're going to pre-iron it, make sure to iron it exactly the width of the foot that you're using. Or else it's not going to line up right. Okay, plausible, sure. The other thing I had heard is that these smaller ones are apparently a little bit more difficult to do than these larger ones. I am using one of the larger ones right now for this demo because I figure it'd show up easier on video. And that when you pin it, you also want it to be just the size of your foot, as close as you can get it. I'm going to try and see if I can do a knot. Let's turn that up. Get my tails out of the way. One that's not pre-ironed again, just to see what happens and to show you guys. But like I said, I did not find it to be very easy to do at all. The ironing definitely, I feel, is helpful. I think it's probably more of a personal preference and what works for you kind of thing in the end. But we will go ahead and try and do it this way as well, just for, you know, the sake of science, I guess. See, the hard part about this when it's not pre-ironed is, like, I can tell when it's fully turned over because, you know, it meets where I ironed it flat, you know. Whereas if it's not pre-ironed, then I kind of have to sort of guess and hope that it's turned over about right, you know, because it's hard to see when it's flipped over like that exactly how much it's turned over. And also when I see the folks doing it this way without it pre-ironing, they also kind of sort of finger press anyway. So, I mean, it's not fully ironed, I guess, but it's still kind of sort of pressed into place. I I think the drawbacks to probably pre-ironing is if you don't pre-iron it just the right amount, you know, like just the right dimensions, then if your folds don't fall right in here, then it might fight with the foot a little bit. Whereas your fabric wants to go where it's pre-trained to go because you ironed it. But if that doesn't quite fit the foot that you're using, then that might, you know, like, that might be part of the problem that I had with that first attempt at showing you guys, right? Okay, well, here is, so I finally got it in there, right? You saw me kind of finagle it. And let's see what happens now. Stay put. All right. Well, you know what? There you go. And that's without pre-ironing it. This is definitely the most successful tent that I have had without pre-ironing. That's for sure. But I am also getting a little bit of practice here. So, hey, you know, that's pretty good too, in fact. You know, even down here at the bottom, it actually, like, you know, stayed put the way it's supposed to. All right, so not bad. Maybe it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Or maybe it's a little bit of practice makes the difference. Either way. So that concludes my part 1 of the hem feet. And, oh, where'd it go? Ah, this guy. So if you just take a look and compare, right? So this one, regular hem foot. This one is the binder. Kind of looks like a duck, sort of. All right. Anyway, so this guy is going to be the next one that I make a video about. I think it's probably going to be, well, now you're trying to curl 2 sides, so it's probably going to be twice as wild as this one. Look forward to it. I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye.